Ever wondered why people always say less is more? Welcome to our deep dive into Law Hash 4 of the 48 Laws of Power. Always say less than necessary. Picture this. You're a ship sailing in the vast ocean of communication, surrounded by waves of words, with the power to either propel you forward or capsize your journey entirely. That's precisely where Law Hash 4 comes into play. The essence of this law is simple, but profound, encouraging us to harness the power of maintaining mystery and creating intrigue by not revealing everything we know. Think about it. When we're too verbose, too open with our plans or thoughts, we become predictable. We lose the element of surprise, the mystery that can be so captivating. We hand over the key to our inner world for others to explore at their leisure. Can you see the power imbalance that creates? Now don't get me wrong. This isn't about being deceptive or dishonest. It's about understanding the power dynamics at play in our interactions and using them to our advantage. It's about recognizing that every word we utter, every piece of information we reveal, is a pawn in the chess game of communication. So, what does always say less than necessary really mean? It's not about being silent or uncommunicative. It's about being intentional with our words, about understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is hold our tongue and let the silence speak. It's about realizing that in the right moments, saying less can indeed be more. As we delve deeper into Law Hash 4, we'll explore the nuances of this concept, the power that silence can hold, and the pitfalls of overcommunication. We'll delve into the art of listening, a skill often overlooked in our rush to be heard, and we'll look at practical ways to apply this law in our daily life, as well as the exceptions to the rule. In the next few minutes, we'll unpack this law, exploring why it's so effective and how you can apply it in your daily life. So, buckle up and let's set sail on this journey of discovery. Silence is golden, and in this case, it's powerful too. Let's delve into the potency of silence. It's an intriguing concept, isn't it? Our society often equates silence with shyness, awkwardness, or even ignorance. But here, we're flipping the script. We're asserting that silence, when used strategically, can be a powerful tool. Consider this. In a room full of people clamoring to be heard, who commands the most attention? It's not the loudest or the most verbose. Instead, it's the person who's quiet, who speaks sparingly but wisely. This individual exudes an air of mystery and authority, compelling others to lean in and listen when they finally decide to speak. Silence is a commanding presence. It forces others to pause, to reflect, and to pay attention. When you're silent, you create a space that others naturally want to fill. They'll speculate on your thoughts, project their own insecurities, and ultimately reveal more about themselves than they may have intended. Moreover, silence grants you the freedom to observe and to think before you act. It offers you the opportunity to gather your thoughts, to analyze the situation, and to respond, rather than react. It's a buffer, a shield, a strategy. Silence is so much more than an absence of sound. Silence also keeps your intentions hidden. In a world where oversharing is the norm, those who can keep their plans to themselves hold a unique advantage. They're able to maneuver and strategize without revealing their hand too soon. They're the chess players in a world of checkers. In essence, silence is a testament to your self-control, a hallmark of your patience and a reflection of your wisdom. It's a subtle yet powerful way of asserting your presence, commanding respect, and maintaining an edge over others. So the next time you're in a situation where you're tempted to fill the silence, remember there's power in restraint. There's strength in observing, in listening, and waiting for the right moment to speak. You don't always have to be the loudest voice to be heard. Remember, the most powerful person in the room is often the quietest. Scene script. Ever shared something only to regret it later? Let's discuss why that happens. Overcommunication, the act of revealing more than necessary, can often feel like an open book policy. It's easy to believe that by laying everything bare, we foster trust and openness. But let's take a step back and consider the potential drawbacks of this approach. Firstly, overcommunication can lead to a loss of control. When you share more than you need to, you give others more power over your narrative. They start to form opinions, make judgments, and even draw conclusions about you based on the information you've shared. This can quickly spiral out of your control, as you're no longer the sole author of your story. Secondly, overcommunication can lead to vulnerability. By revealing all your cards, you expose your weaknesses, your fears, your dreams, and your secrets. This can open you up to manipulation or exploitation. Remember, knowledge is power. The more others know about you, the more power they have over you. Lastly, overcommunication can lead to reduced respect. It's human nature to value that which is scarce or hard to come by. When you're constantly communicating, constantly sharing, your words may start to lose their weight. You risk becoming background noise, easily ignored or brushed aside. It's important to understand that this isn't a call for secrecy or deception. It's a call for thoughtful communication. It's about recognizing the value of your words and using them wisely. It's about understanding that silence can sometimes speak louder than words, and that what you choose not to say can be just as powerful, if not more so, than what you do say. We're not suggesting you clam up and never share anything. We're suggesting that you be mindful of what you share, when you share it, and with whom you share it. It's about striking a balance between transparency and discretion. So, the next time you're tempted to overshare, remember the power of silence. Listening is an art, but why is it so important? Picture this. You're in a room full of people all chattering away, each vying for attention, each trying to make their voice heard. Yet, in all the commotion, you choose to sit back, quiet, observing, and most importantly, listening. You see, when we listen, we give ourselves the space to absorb and understand the world around us more deeply. Listening is not about being passive or submissive. On the contrary, it's about being actively engaged in a conversation or situation. But with a different approach. It's about taking in more than you put out. Why? Because knowledge is power, and the more you know, the more power you hold. Imagine a chess game. The most successful players aren't those who blurt out their strategies. No, they're the ones who watch, who listen, who understand their opponent's moves and then make their own based on that understanding. Life, you'll find, is not so different from a chess game. When we listen more and speak less, we allow ourselves to understand people and situations better. We can identify patterns, predict behaviors, and recognize opportunities that others may miss in their hurry to be heard. We become more attuned to the undercurrents of conversations, the unspoken intentions, the hidden agendas. But it's not just about gaining an upper hand. Listening fosters empathy. It builds stronger relationships. It encourages trust. When people feel heard, they're more likely to open up, to share, to connect. And these connections, these relationships, they're the building blocks of power. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, try this. Speak less, listen more. Ask questions. Show interest. Be curious. Let the other person share their thoughts, their feelings, their experiences. Absorb their wisdom. Learn from their mistakes. Understand their perspective. Remember, every conversation is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to gain power. But only if you're willing to listen. The more you listen, the more power you hold. Now that we understand Law #4, how can we apply it in our daily lives? Well, let's dive into some practical examples and tips. On a professional level, consider the power of silence during negotiations. When the other party makes their offer, don't rush to respond, let the silence hang. It can be uncomfortable, but that's the point. It often prompts the other party to fill the silence, possibly with concessions or additional information that could be to your advantage. In team meetings, try not to be the first to speak. Listen, observe, and then when you do speak, your words will carry more weight. It's about quality, not quantity. Now let's shift gears to personal situations. Let's say you're in a heated discussion with a friend or partner. Instead of escalating the situation with more words, take a step back. Pause. This allows both parties to cool down and think things over. When you do respond, you'll be able to do so in a more thoughtful and productive manner. Another practical application of Law #4 is in the realm of social media. In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, consider the impact of saying less. It's not about disappearing, but about being more intentional with what you share. Let others reveal their thoughts and opinions. In doing so, you'll gain a more nuanced understanding of those around you. Lastly, the power of silence can be beneficial in self-reflection. In the hustle and bustle of life, we often forget to pause and reflect. By embracing silence, we can better understand our thoughts, feelings, and actions. This leads to improved self-awareness and personal growth. These are just a few examples of how you can apply Law #4 in various situations. Start small and gradually incorporate the power of silence into your life. It may feel awkward at first, but with time, you'll see its value. Remember, the application of this law is a skill that requires practice. While Law #4 is powerful, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Let's explore the exceptions. The art of silence is a powerful tool, but like any tool, it must be used with discretion. There are situations in which saying less may not be beneficial. For instance, in a collaborative environment Where the success of a project depends on the sharing of ideas, holding back could be detrimental. Your silence could be interpreted as aloofness or lack of engagement, creating a gap in communication and hampering progress. In personal relationships too, silence can sometimes be misinterpreted as indifference or lack of interest. Open communication is vital to building and maintaining healthy relationships. So, while the power of silence can be a strategic asset in some scenarios, it's not always the best approach. Then there are situations that call for empathy and human connection, like comforting a friend in distress. In such circumstances, silence might seem cold and uncaring. Sometimes words of comfort and understanding are more powerful than silence. And let's not forget, silence can sometimes create a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. If you don't fill it, someone else might, and not always to your advantage. Your silence could be filled with speculation, assumptions, and conjecture, which could distort your message or intentions. Now, this doesn't mean you should abandon Law #4 altogether, far from it. Law #4 is about the power of silence, but it's also about the power of discernment. It's about knowing when to hold back, and when to speak up. The key is to strike a balance. Use silence as a tool to listen, to learn, to gain power. But also recognize when your words have power and use them wisely. Remember, it's not about always being silent or always speaking up. It's about knowing when to do which. So, as you navigate the complex landscape of power, remember to use Law #4 judiciously, adapting it to your specific situation. Remember, power lies in the ability to adapt and apply wisdom appropriately. We've covered a lot today, so let's summarize what we've learned about Law #4. In this exploration, we've dived into the depths of the fourth law of power. Always say less than necessary. This law, as we've come to understand, is a tool of great importance in the arsenal of power. It's about practicing restraint, using our words wisely, and understanding the impact of what we say, and just as importantly, what we don't say. We began by looking at the concept of the power of silence. Silence, we learned, is a potent force. It creates an air of mystery, keeps others guessing, and gives us the upper hand in any situation. It's about understanding that words, once spoken, can't be taken back, and that the less we reveal, the more power we retain. From there, we moved on to the pitfalls of over-communication. In today's world, where everyone is eager to make their voice heard, it's easy to fall into the trap of oversharing, of giving away too much information. We learned that this is a dangerous path, one that can strip us of our power and leave us vulnerable. Over-communication can create confusion, dilute our message, and open us up to manipulation. Then we embrace the art of listening. By saying less, we create the space to listen more. Listening allows us to understand others better, to pick up on nuances and unspoken messages, and to gather valuable information. It gives us the power to connect on a deeper level, and to make more informed decisions. We also looked at practical applications of Law #4. We understood that this law isn't about being terse or uncommunicative, but about being strategic in our communication. It's about choosing our words carefully, speaking with purpose, and using silence as a powerful tool. And finally, we discussed the exceptions to Law #4. While saying less is generally powerful, there are situations where more communication is necessary. In times of crisis, for instance, clear and frequent communication can be essential. The key is to understand when to apply this law and when to make exceptions. Throughout this journey, one thing has become clear. Law #4 is not just about talking less. It's about communicating more effectively. It's about understanding that every word we utter, every silence we maintain, carries weight and has the potential to increase or decrease our power. As we end today's deep dive, remember that true power comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. Until next time, stay powerful.